Awesome. So thank you so much for everybody attending and thanks Emma and Sarah for inviting me along to this. Today I have the privilege of taking you through AI-powered sales and how we're evolving sales premium to help you sell smarter and not harder. It's a lofty topic and we're going to have lots of fun with this. But just by way of introduction, I'm Matt Mead. I'm a director in our Global Black Belt Americas team. What that means is that I've been doing this for a really long time, and I work with our most strategic and complex customers to figure out this technology and this shift that we're under. So, the last few years have really been focused on not only dynamics, but agentic tools and how we think about agents and co-pilots. So, looking forward to the conversation, and we'll look forward to the chat and the questions coming up as well. So, let's jump right into it. So, first thing I wanted to do is really lay out a bit of a rhetorical question here because we're at this critical juncture where organizations and certainly the customers I work with are really needing to rethink and retool every business process around AI. It is a critical juncture and there's a lot of changes happening. And I think CRM in itself is not excluded from this. We're radically reshaping CRM when it comes to co-pilots and agents, and it's not a theoretical shift anymore. It is real, and all of the CRM vendors are trying to catch up and get into the space. But the real message here is bigger than that. It's bigger than any single tool, and you have to think about all of the single human-based processes and how they dramatically get more efficient over the next 3 to 5 years as this technology evolves, and how you position yourself as a partner, as a customer, an implementer, and how you stay relevant through all of these changes. And then hopefully, because you're here talking about Dynamics 365, you're familiar with some of the tools that we have. And hopefully you put your trust in Microsoft and what we're doing and the investments we're making. So today we're really going to focus on Dynamics 365 and the suite of applications, but we'll also touch on the wider ecosystem and what we're doing to help our customers in this space. So just to kind of carry that theme going forward here too. If you haven't seen this slide, it's really interesting, and I think it sums up really what I just said there as well. Every application, organization, and business process is being reinvented right now. And it's happening with CRM in particular, in the world of CRM as it shifts. And what I mean by that is yesterday's CRM, and I've been doing this for 20 years, there's a lot of different CRMs out there, is essentially a system of record for keeping records. It's a combination of static UX, forms over data, fixed workflows that are really designed to try and get reliable data into that system so it operates and it feeds downstream reports. The problem is that we're relying on sellers to put data in that system and keep it up to date. And therefore lies the problem, right? The data quality is an issue. So we got workflow, we got UX, and we got data, and the data is infinitely more important in this equation than anything else. So what is happening and what you're going to see when we talk about sales premium is we're shifting to this system of outcome where we can layer on co-pilots, agents, as well as a really killer sales premium CRM across the top with knowledge. And we can start to bring it to a system of outcome, a system of actions, where we can use co-pilots, we can use agents to gather, read, interpret, and work with knowledge to generate insights, actions, recommendations, and we can even automate all this as well. So it takes care of things autonomously for you to help free up sales users so they're spending more time with clients. And as I said, this is not theoretical anymore. This is the actual advancements of the systems. I'm going to show you some of that in action today as well. So let's just talk a little bit about D365 sales. So as I said, hopefully you're a little bit familiar with D365 sales, regardless if you're enterprise, you're already on premium, you're hoping to learn more. Yeah, please engage with us. We'd love to hear your story. But really what we have is D365 sales is already an agentic CRM platform. It is designed to help sellers and take advantage of the best-in-class AI from Microsoft. It's infused in a few different ways. One, at the platform level, across our secure Azure cloud with Foundry and our investments of Azure OpenAI, we can take advantage of all of that innovation. And the platform itself has pre-built agents, and that's really important because you'll see it shortly. You can take advantage of that innovation, that frontier investment, by flicking a switch and turning on these agents and using them as part of D365 Sales Premium. So we're already advancing the platform. We've got Copilot built in. We have autonomous AI agents pre-built, or even if you want to bring your own with custom, built directly into this tool. And as I said, it's all built on our secure Azure cloud with our secure infrastructure. We have the low code capabilities, and it really allows you to scale and make your customer data available through your apps and deliver a secure and safe platform. And now the one elephant in the room is, certain folks have said CRM is dead. CRM is not dead, but what is dead in this equation is the CRM UX is dead, and it's evolving and changing to be agentic, to be knowledge, and to be copilot. So the UX as we know it today is changing, but CRM in itself is not dead. And if I look at a couple of examples on the right-hand side of the screen here, even 18 months ago, we were talking about CRM in the sense of, yes, I have forms over data with my database, and I use a copilot in an assistive way to ask questions, summarize my meetings, help me prepare for my opportunity and deal reviews, things like that. Very assistive, very copilot in the moment. In 18 months, what's changed is it's now AI reasoning over the data, the processes, and unstructured data. What I mean by that is the emails, the chats, the appointments, the documents, all of that kind of busy work that's happening in your Microsoft tenant going through M365 is part of the equation. And we can use agents to reason over all that and find intelligence in a unified way across this platform to deliver insights, recommendations, next best actions, and get sellers out in front of customers. So making things simple, getting more time in front of customers, selling more deals is the goal here. If I just drill down a little bit further into this, when we think about agentic AI, it's really from lead through cash to close, all the way through, and it happens in a few different ways. So, as I mentioned, we offer AI-powered capabilities across every business function and every role in a typical sales enterprise organization. So, if we look at kind of the left-hand side, we've got our customers, and then we have all of the different channels. And of course, LinkedIn is in there as well. We own the world's largest professional social network, and we're starting to see more of that kind of capabilities light up across Dynamics as well. So we've got our channels. And then when it comes to things like lead qualification, it's now as easy as just clicking a few buttons to activate an autonomous agent to one, perform the research, understand the client, do the due diligence and data checks, and then engage that pipeline and take it on the go towards the next step. So you can do that in a research mode to empower sellers to kind of have the best in class knowledge and recommendations, or you can flick the switch to have that run completely autonomously and take it right through to objection handling and scheduling that next meeting. It's extremely powerful. When it comes to converting opportunities, we can look at the pipe in a far more achievable way. So we can use Copilot to drive personal conversations with prospects. I'm going to show you an example of how I can use Copilot to surface the latest sales collateral, mining my knowledge sources in SharePoint and bringing in the latest and greatest. So I'm empowered as a seller to get that out in front of customers without having to swivel chair and context search looking for the latest collateral. Great use of Copilot in that sense. And then with other capabilities like opportunity sales close, our sales research agent, that employs guided selling. It brings in playbooks. It brings in the next best actions and risk mitigation to make sure that we can perform deep research and do things like conversation intelligence and sales research to make sure you have a great brief and meeting preparation heading into those deals. So opportunity and farming within existing accounts to drive new business is well taken care of as well. And as I said, it comes back to security and trust. And all of this is null and moot if we don't have a secure, trusted platform. And thankfully, Microsoft has built all of this on responsible AI. It's a platform based around technologies using things like Entra and multi-factor authentication and Purview to help prevent data loss, leakage, and a secure way of working with all of these agents. But this is the reality of now, what is in the system and what we're evolving and working with when it comes to sales premium. So I'm going to do a few more slides, and then I promise I'm going to get to the really exciting stuff, which is our visionary roadmap. But I just kind of want to touch on a few personas in the moment where they're working with Dynamics, or in fact, they're working with other tools around Dynamics in their flow of work. So if we think about sales managers, what I've certainly heard working with my customers is three key things that come up time and time again. They need the ability to make timely decisions. to improve the business and drive outcomes. They need to keep a hand and a pulse on the team, review performance, and provide coaching. And they want to eradicate deviations in the sales process. They want repeatability and reusability to make sure things are happening when they're supposed to happen to drive deals forward. So we've addressed that scaling winning teams by doing things like creating future-ready capabilities around things like the sales research agent, which I'll show you. That is going to allow deep research for the most complex probing questions of your business when it comes to performance, coaching, quota, forecast, demand, all of those things tied together to be able to kind of give you those best-in-class analytics and next best actions. Conversation intelligence, as I mentioned, it's been around a little while, but again, we're uniquely positioned at Microsoft because the backbone of that is Teams. So when calls are coming in and coming out through Teams, we can monitor and understand the intent of that conversation. So we can look for the gaps, we can look for the white space, we can look for competitors, pricing, vendors, all of those kind of things that come up in those conversations. You'll see that in Teams. We can analyze and understand how is a seller performing? Are they landing the correct pitch? And therefore, looking at that in aggregate, we can also look to see how are we doing as an organization and a sales team and executing our playbook and the messaging that we're putting out there. Really, really powerful. The graph from Microsoft helps us do that on the backbone of Teams. And then lastly, from a sales manager standpoint, understanding where we are in a sales process from a sequencing standpoint. So sequencing, working with Sales Accelerator to tie up the next best action and all of the regular cadence steps that take place in a typical sales cycle molded to an organization that is repeatable, reusable, and from a leadership team, they can report on it to see where the bottlenecks are and who's skipping over the process. So these three combined, as you can see, really help drive investment around AI, how they're doing things in automating process to drive ROI and efficiencies in their teams. Two more for you, just looking at it from a sales rep standpoint. Time is money. And we know that selling isn't getting any easier. I hear that on the street talking to sellers. If you have ever tried calling anybody to get throughput over a phone, it's almost impossible to sell over that channel these days. So sales reps run into a lot of friction and they spend a lot of time trying to sell, but they also spend a lot of time with administrative overhead trying to prepare, recap, and actually keep a CRM up to date. But what we do know is that personalized one-to-one experiences, aka more time in front of a customer, leads to better outcomes. So how are we meeting that moment? We've built in capabilities there to help sales reps, drive a supercharged and an excellent buying experience. Let's go back one. So what that looks like is one, meeting preparation. So we help you prepare for a meeting, whether it be online or out in the field. We give you all of the kind of the meeting notes as well as prepare for upcoming meetings with talking points, icebreakers, and we reconcile that with enrichment of different sources to make sure that you've got all of that key information. And then when we get into relationship intelligence, this has been part of Premium for a little while, but it's still one of the best capabilities we have. And again, it leans on graph. Because when we want to look at a deal and the propensity of a deal, we want to understand, are we investing the right amount of time and activity on a particular client versus how much time they're investing in it with us? And maybe there's a similar deal with a similar collateral and a similar amount of activity and inertia that we want to take advantage of to compare and then use that as a playbook to advance things forward. So relationship intelligence, understanding the landscape of a deal, who we're talking to and what throughput we're getting is really important. And then lastly, kind of one of the most simple ones is actually having best-in-class collaboration right there inside Dynamics with you. So contextual chats associated with your records, or if in fact I'm working out on Teams or on my mobile, being able to line up and have conversations with other sellers and folks that are going to help you close business where you love working to make quick responses. Not all of this requires you to be in the Dynamics interface. Hopefully you're starting to see that as we're working in our systems of outcome to get things done. And then the last one here before I get into roadmap is just talking about the boosting sales outcomes. So we know that effectively prioritizing and following the next best action helps move deals forward. But data is often siloed. So emails, chats, meetings, documents, as I mentioned, and trying to make sense of all that can be a challenge. So what we've done again is using predictive capabilities and the power of agents, we're helping dish up and give sellers those insights and what to do next. So, sales qualification agent, as I mentioned, autonomously researches, prioritize, qualifies incoming leads for you autonomously 24/7. So, as you sleep, that agent is looking at those playbooks, knowledge bases, preparing that brief for you. So, when you sit down and moving to the next part of the screen there, look at your score of a high propensity lead that you should go after. You've also got that blueprint and that research to help you advance things forward. And that's a great use of AI and agents that you turn on, take advantage of, and it just starts to work. And then lastly, taking our sequencing forward again, looking at that regular cadence and prioritizing those next best actions. So a lot of talking, a lot of excitement. I'm going to show you in a moment here what we're working on and how we're going to evolve this. But hopefully you've seen that we're at this critical juncture where AI is creating a once in a lifetime generational opportunity to reimagine sales. As I said, Microsoft is heavily in this and other vendors are as well. And it's a little bit of a horse race, but for the most part, sales has been a headcount driven business. And the goal is to grow revenue and grow it quickly and get things moving. So we believe there's a massive opportunity here in this growth formula and how we reimagine in traditional sales using AI, which is everywhere. So this part I'm super excited about. I think this is the first time we've kind of talked about this publicly. And again, kudos to the team who helped organize this today and to my folks in engineering who allowed me to talk with this today. But we are about to change up premium in a big way. It's going to be remarkably different. It's going to meet the moment. So for the folks that are dipping their toes in with AI and agents, we're going to elevate and help you be able to take advantage of some of those capabilities and really differentiate yourself. So what I'm showing here is a snapshot of our Premium Advantage Visionary Roadmap. Everything timing-wise, full disclosure, is subject to change. And this is actually a snapshot of what is to come. There's a lot more that we'll talk to you about in due course, but I'm really excited to be able to share some of this with you today. And what I want to highlight is if you look at the premium column, that is naturally where the investment is going. That is where we're spending a lot of time. And what we're doing is we're moving sales from just reactive execution to AI-driven orchestration. So premium isn't just about adding features. It's where agents are being deployed to actively manage pipeline, surface risk, do mitigation, and drive outcomes on behalf of sellers. And so you're going to see things in here, and we'll deep dive into a few of these in a moment. Things like sales close agent and opportunity management. So those combined are going to continuously look for deal health, red flags, look for risks. They're going to look for the right stakeholders at the right time and make sure you're engaging efficiently across all different channels. And of course, running 24/7 to optimize how we think about sales. And then when it comes to operations, some of you may have seen the operations tag inside Sales Research Agent. I'll allude to that a little bit later. We're now going to be able to look at sales from an execution standpoint. So execution, how we think about external data and how teams operate around executing in sales operations is really going to be key. Because when it comes to actuals and future predictive forecasting, that's also a really important part, as opposed to just rearview mirror about what actually happened. Premium is also going to have some interesting things there to really accelerate your journey. So think about Copilot credits. We're going to give every user with Premium 1,000 Copilot credits to advance their journey with this. Why that's important is because that's going to allow you to get started faster and take advantage of these capabilities and agents without necessarily having to stress over finding more Copilot credits to drive this. So you get a really big upper hand to help work with this and scale, not as pilots, but as part of your core sales motions. You're going to see more storage. You're going to see next best action guidance, fantastic use of AI. So many people and companies have attempted next best action over the years. I think this is the perfect time to be able to do AI-driven agentic next best actions. And so the theme of all this is really fewer slip deals, cleaner data, better prioritization, and leaders who can coach proactively instead of reacting to things at the end of the quarter. And so, and I think this is the big thing I've noticed in the last 18 months, AI stops being assistive and reactive, and it now starts to become agentic and operational. predicting, challenging, handling things for me versus summarizing, drafting emails and those kinds of things. We're turning a corner in what we can do, and Premium reflects that in the direction we're headed. So let's deep dive into a couple of these just to talk through. So additional storage capacity, as I mentioned, one of the common friction points is storage capacity dataverse. And for enterprise customers who are growing, that restriction and that kind of storage management conversation is not fun. So what are we going to do there? We're going to remove that restriction point and friction point, and we're going to allow for AI adoption and increase data limits. So what that means is you're using co-pilots, you're using agents to autonomously research. We're going to talk about data enrichment in a moment. All of those provide immense value when it comes to what you're doing with sales. And so additional dataverse storage capacity is going to support those higher data volumes without operational overhead. It's going to ensure that AI can continuously enrich, unify, work with external data and deliver richer insights to sellers and managers without slowing the business down and having to kind of force that conversation around storage management. So super excited for this. I think some of this is already hitting the street when it comes to the sales workload. So definitely reach out to your Microsoft rep and have a conversation on that. And certainly with Premium, we're gonna add extra capacity there. Sales operations research, as I mentioned there, this is going to be a premium capability that brings agentic AI directly into sales operations. This has been a bit of a hot area that we've been working on because typically when I'm talking to customers, it tends to be a spreadsheet exercise of manual analysis. So it's siloed and disconnected and often problematic and often incorrect. So what we're doing is we're bringing in that pre-built research journey. We're continuously looking at pipeline, targets, budgets, actuals, and we're surfacing real-time insights all into Sales Research Agent with an operational lens. With the idea and why we care is it gives sales leaders visibility into health, territory, risk, resource constraints, so they can make proactive decisions earlier. This is especially great if you happen to be running Azure Fabric Lakehouse or OneLake, because we're going to be able to work with those data warehouses where a lot of the actuals and transactional data lives. And I'd expect in the future too, we're going to work with other first-party and third-party data warehousing connectors as well. But just know Fabric Lakehouse and OneLake is all supported there right now as well. So super excited for this one from an operational standpoint. So advance that. Next best action, as I said, we're going to prioritize the most impactful actions at any time. So we're going to layer on a pane inside your records there, and we're going to queue up those next best actions and that guided selling towards the highest impact step that a seller should take in that moment. So fantastic use of AI and agents. It's going to surface those prioritized actions directly in the flow of work. And the idea is that we can accelerate execution with pre-filled drafts and recommendations. So a seller knows what to do with velocity and consistency in driving outcomes. As I said, over my career, I think most companies have had a run at this, and it's a notoriously difficult thing to do, but we've had an amazing amount of R&D going in to get this right, and the timing is right with agentic AI to bring this to market. So very exciting to see that coming into Premium. The next one is data enrichment with agentic AI. This is something that I have seen over the last week, so I know this one is coming very, very soon. The idea here is that garbage in, garbage out with a CRM system. It's notorious for that. So with data enrichment, we can look for signals and we can use agentic AI to continuously keep sales data accurate and complete. So we're going to start with opportunities and we'll expand, but what it does is it looks using graph and other signals to fill gaps from emails, meetings, research, external signals as deals evolve. And the idea is that think of it as a light master data management. We're going to try and keep that trusted CRM up to date with records that improve things like forecasting, confidence in the data and decision making across pipeline. So this one will be coming very, very soon. What I've seen of it looks amazing, especially around stakeholder management and then filling in gaps and keeping opportunities up to date. Super exciting. And then the last one I'll just touch on around portfolio planning, also really known as account planning, is again another thing that in my experience has been notoriously difficult to crack. it is also often something that's done in another application or in a spreadsheet. It's often haphazard based on what we know. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce portfolio planning as a layer to Dynamics 365 Sales Premium. It's an agentic research layer to help optimize where teams spend time across the entire portfolio. So we're going to analyze performance, growth, risk, and we're going to highlight where to invest time, where to rebalance resources, where to do that planning, and then hopefully create that better alignment between strategy and execution. So we know where to focus time. So very excited for this, as I think D365 Sales is a natural place for this. I know at Microsoft we attempted it years ago with a Power App, and it had so much technical debt to try and pull that off. So this is lightweight, agentic, taps into all your data sources, and can do a really great job of kind of tying together that entire portfolio account plan. Excellent. I'm just going to grab a quick sip here. So I thought what I'd do now is actually show you a little bit of this in action. So these are capabilities that are available today. So if you're on Premium, you're exploring Premium, you want to try these out, you can go back to your desk and these capabilities will be there to try and work with. And hopefully it'll inspire a little bit there to answer the question, sell smarter, not harder, as we work with these tools. So first one I want to touch on is really the sales research agent. And the idea here is that I'm a sales manager or a leader within an organization, and I'm effectively data driven. I need the ability to analyze, visualize, act on data in real time, because that's critical for success in how I manage the business. And so what we've done is we've created an entirely new category of analytics. This is not Power BI. Power BI is fantastic for looking in the rearview mirror. This is what happened. Here's your data analyzed. What this does is it takes your most complex questions, unpacks those questions, looks for the white space, the revenue, the opportunities across your enterprise data, and makes it actionable and intelligent. And why we care is this will help you drive revenue and make money. And that's what we're saying, work smarter, not harder. So when I come in as an example here, I'm just going to collapse the left-hand side. I'm going to look at it from a pipeline exploration standpoint, or as we said there, sales operations. I can start to look at it from an operational standpoint. And we give you a series of prompts to get started. You don't have to use these prompts, but these are all designed to kind of start you on your journey using this solution. So I can pick one of those if I want. We're always grounded in Dynamics, but the benefit of this is that I can upload and work with whatever data I like. So if I have transactional data, marketing data, maybe I have third-party research or competitive data I want to analyze, you can augment Dynamics with additional data sources, or in fact work with connectors, and we're bringing more online, things like Databricks, to bring in some of that warehousing information as well. But once I've connected to the data sources I want to analyze, I can put in my question. And in this example, I'm comparing 2025 versus previous years, but I want to break it down by region, by service line. And you'll see I'm going to go down a wormhole of questioning to really understand what is going on with my business. And so when I run that, it takes about 90 seconds, and I've just sped that up for brevity. And it calls a series of agents. What this is behind the scenes is 4 agents performing deep reasoning, assessment, research, and tying all this together. And what it produces is a beautiful, reusable, repeatable canvas that I'm going to use, that is mine as a sales leader, that I can come back to and use as part of my leadership conversations in Swivel Chair. And again, I don't have to context switch over somewhere else to go to different reports. It's all here, and it's interactive, so I can ask additional questions. So when I asked performance for 2025, it broke it down by my different regions. It broke it down by deal size, by year. And I can come in and I can click and I can interact. I can expand that chart if I want to, and start to use that as part of my leadership conversations. And of course, if I want to know how do we arrive at this, where's the transparency, we break that down for you as well. Everything is grounded in reality, so you can see exactly how we're arriving at what you're seeing on screen. And of course, I can go to my other visualizations. I can interact with them. If I don't like a visualization, you'll see in a moment that I'll switch it out. But where this gets really interesting is the left-hand side, where we start to talk about the narrative. So why was there declines in 2025? What are we seeing across the different regions? What are the facts? Where are the gaps? Where's the white space? And what should I focus on? So we break out the narrative and we package it up with recommendations, suggestions, and things that you should do as a leader to course correct and make changes. And of course, that varies based on the questions you ask. So what I did there is I have another question which is related to my first question. I just care about the advisory business as an example. And so 2025, how did that business do? And it analyzed the financials that I added there, and I can refresh, regenerate that as much as I want. This is my workspace. And then I also have composition by revenue, monthly revenue trends, and another narrative that explains the outcomes and suggestions around advisory. I asked another question, and you can see the theme here, right? I'm going down the list and I'm connecting all of my blueprints together. I asked about federal election. I asked about some BEPS Pillar 2 tax framework changes. So these are things happening out in the world that are influencing what's happening in my business. And it picks up on that, analyzes, and brings that into the fold. It's very, very powerful. Again, I get more conclusions and analysis. And as I said, if I'm not jiving with something and I want to put a different visualization in, I can ask a question in a different way. Or we begin to understand what your question is and we make suggestions around where you could go with that. So here I want to understand more around customer size and market segments and how that's impacting revenue in my advisory business. And I get a different visualization. So when I'm done, I can zoom out. As I said, come back to this anytime for my swivel chair conversations. I've got my reports, I've got my workspace. I can even share this. We're going to introduce a capability soon where I can put this in a Copilot page, share it amongst my leadership team to be able to have the roundtable conversation. So I hope you love that. That is the future of agentic sales leadership reporting and how we're thinking about the sales research agent. I got one more for you. This one's going to look a little familiar, but then I'm going to take off in a direction maybe that you haven't seen when it comes to thinking about pipeline, understanding pipeline and priorities. So in this case, I'm a really busy seller. I've got up, I've been on my phone, I've been to Outlook, I've been to Teams. Eventually, I sit down in front of my sales premium at my desk, but I also was able to achieve a ton headless across different Microsoft tools to get things done. But when I do sit down at my big screen here, I want a quick, easy, familiar, and fluid way to manage my pipeline. So this case here is, here's my 90-day bubble chart using my pipeline workspace that I can interact with. So if I'm just interested in, hey, where we are in development stages, what's coming up over the next little while, I can work with these bubbles. And the bigger, the brighter the bubble, the better. That indicates health, that indicates propensity. And this is all underpinned by relationship analytics and a score. So the bigger and higher the score, the better the chances are we have with closing that business. And I'll show you that in a moment. But I have a really nice, easy workspace to work with that is again, fully in my control, personalized to me. And I can navigate through my deals. I can get information. I can make quick edits if I want to. I can snap in, snap out by sales stage. If I want to just advance, say, a close date, I can do that really quickly. One screen, less clicks, really easy to use. Where this gets a little bit different is when I introduce Sales Close Agent. As I mentioned, I have this agent which is looking at my deals. It runs 24/7, lives on pizza, if you want to call it that. It just works. And I've instructed it what to look for. What are my playbooks? What are my knowledge sources? How do I want it to research? And it serves some really valuable purposes. So one, I get a really nice brief on my high propensity deal. So example here on this technology consulting cybersecurity deal, I get 3 risks that I may want to mitigate. So these were developed for me autonomously based on information that is in the setup of my close agent. So I need to find a buyer with budget authority. I need to deal with some legal operational risks, and I need to deal with some legal actions and challenges. These are things that will potentially stop my deal from advancing. So I can mark those down off my list and use that as a blueprint of what to do next. And then I get a full executive brief. So as a seller, here's all these things that I need to know that have evolved and changed on a daily basis that are helping me stay up to speed. But if I'm an executive who's looking after the seller and I just want to stick my nose in and see what is going on, this gives me a really nice, easy click brief so I can understand the deal, I can understand the priorities, I can get in and get out without having to go too far. So really different way of thinking about CRM and dynamics in this case. So in the example here, we've got several key signals, latest and greatest coming in. I've got my stakeholders listed out. I've got pain points that we've found performing research. Again, research that you nominate, research that we tap into. Competitors, Salesforce is in there, go figure, right? Salesforce is there. We've got all sorts of things around different competitors, opportunity health, account health, product insights. So the more we have and the more research we can conduct, the bigger and better this blueprint goes. But that's not all. This blueprint could also be running fully autonomously, and a lot of customers are evaluating where they are at that juncture. This could start to engage your client directly with an email and start to schedule, start to handle things like objection handling in a fully autonomous way that you manage and look over. Many of my customers are looking at that. Many customers are just happy with it researching and just bringing a blueprint together like what you see here. So it's completely your choice, but the technology is now there with Premium. So just to kind of round this off in demos, and hopefully I'm going good for time there, Sarah, just a couple of things. I mentioned the score and the relationship health. Relationship health is driven by graph, and graph defines the quality and quantity of what's going on. So I get an indication there. And then I've also got opportunity scoring running. This has been a Premium capability for quite some time, but it's hugely powerful to grade and score and give you the detractors and the influences that are affecting your deal. The relationship analytics report is hugely powerful. As I said, it tells you all of the interactions, incoming, outgoing, who we're talking to, and the quality of those conversations, including similar won deals and a daily rolling activity timeline of conversations that are taking place. Hugely powerful, hugely beneficial to understanding what's going on. And then the last thing I'll just touch on is I mentioned Copilot. Copilot is in my flow of work. It helps me in Dynamics. I don't have to go anywhere else if I don't want to, but the best use case I've seen, and I still love this and use this myself, is if I'm interested in technology, cybersecurity, and I have no idea what that is, maybe I want to ask the question, can you show me the related product collateral from our knowledge sources that will help educate me on this topic? And so we've tapped into SharePoint, and it's brought up all of the different categories around threat management, intelligence, our architects. So maybe a newer seller or a new associate needs the latest and greatest sales collateral on threat management. We can surface those from SharePoint, all the different templates and files, and then we make it really simple from Dynamics to be able to just package that up, push it into an email that's tracked and traced for making sure people are actually interacting with your content. Create that email with those files attached, and then we send it out the door. Fantastic use of AI agents, Copilot in the flow of work to help people be more effective. Can I just do a time check, Sarah? How am I doing?
We're looking good on time. If you could maybe wrap up in the next maybe 7 minutes.
4 slides, I'll be done. Yep, perfect. So just again, back to that rhetorical question I started in the earlier, how do you thrive in this new instance and era of CRM? All of us. It's evolving fast, right? No matter who you're working with and what instance you're running. It's a big question. Where are you going to be in a few years' time when it comes to all this technology? And, sure, we have a variety of different capabilities and different states of maturity, but it's advancing very, very fast. So just thinking about how you're going to navigate through this and who you're going to trust to help. Hopefully that's Microsoft and the partnership you have with us. But certainly it's food for thought around what I've just shown you, and hopefully you're taking some inspiration from that. But you also don't have to take my word for it. We have some fantastic customer examples. Lenovo, fantastic large multinational manufacturing company, several product lines, deals cut across international boundaries and how they sell. And they globally standardized on the Dynamics 365 sales, taking advantage of AI capabilities and a modern future-proof CRM system. So successful implementation, successful replacement of their existing legacy system, and they're seeing improved gross margins, cost savings, less technical debt and IT support, and streamlined systems management, which is really fantastic. And then one that's a little closer to me out of Vancouver is First West. So they're a large credit union, and they work in a cooperative way to bring credit union banking and cooperative banking to Canadians. And really, their spirit is around community banking and sort of getting on top of financial realities with customers in their credit union. So they also chose D365 sales and service to make sure their members are taken better care of. And they had a successful 11-month rollout with sales and service, and 87% of their member complaints are now resolved within 14 days or less. So high ROI from a service standpoint, also see a measurable impact from their sales member standpoint. And just my last slide, just to kind of tie all this together, just some final thoughts here. Yes, we talk sales premium, but we talk sort of agentic sales in general, and there's some huge value going into that SKU, a huge amount of investment. And I think the reason why, kind of to get you to think about this today, is that agentic workflows are here to stay. They're covering the sales cycle. And with Microsoft, you can leverage the latest and greatest capabilities, right from lead qualification through to pipeline optimization. You're going to see account planning, operations, next best actions. What I showed you with Sales Research Agent, it is all there. And that's going to help. That agentic workflow is going to help increase sales. Secondly, and this is probably near and dear to me, is that we have fantastic pre-built agents that you can get started with quickly. Take those 1,000 credits per user with your premium SKU and put them to good use to accelerate agent adoption. Use that additional storage. Use those AI credits to enable sales reps to take advantage of pre-built sales agents, seamlessly enriching and expanding your data estate. Fantastic there. You don't have to build all this. We've done the R&D, we've done the frontier firm, and we've got those capabilities for you now. And then probably the most important of all is, why does it matter if we're not delivering higher revenue per seller? Compensation drives behavior, sales drive businesses, growing revenue, growing share, and getting after white space is critical. Otherwise, none of this matters. So being able to enrich, maintain your sales data, support that prioritization, help close deals and pipeline, and have confidence in forecasting is really going to help drive that revenue per seller. So with that, thank you very much, everyone.